Hi, my name is Paula. I'm also known as P.B. Moreland, author of the 4 novels in the Whitebird series. And do you feel different? Are you feeling the energies this May? It's May 2nd, 2025. And I just feel that there is something big going down. Um, I also want to introduce myself as the aquamarine water crystal dragon. So I am speaking today as both Paula and as Crystal, the aquamarine water dragon. And I just felt compelled to come on today and reach out to let you know that there are some pretty amazing energetic influences coming into the earthly plane. There are waves of beings. These are galactic beings. They're not in human form. It's more of a consciousness that is coming into the planetary field through our sun, and these beings, they are so big that they are larger than any planet, possibly larger than the solar system itself. And it's no surprise that there are energy beings that are, influenced by the negative forces. I've touched on this in previous videos. And my message to my viewers is not to dwell on how we have been negatively influenced over a millennia. But as far as today, in these current times, modern times, how we are stepping into an opportunity, the first time in the history of our planet since we have been put into this 3D false matrix, which occurred, like I say, a millennia ago. This is the first time since that has occurred where we are now stepping into more of a divine matrix. A matrix is just a world, a reality. And we have lived in the false matrix of the 3D influence for millions of years as human beings. And now we are moving out of that. And that is why it looks like the world is going crazy, because the powers that have been influencing every aspect of our globe, whether it's financial, religion, government, education, medicine, every system you can even imagine has been controlled by negative, evil forces. And I say evil because it's a power that doesn't really like humanity. It has no interest in our health or wealth or well-being. We're just here for the purpose of providing them as an energy source. You can do all the research that you want on that. There are so many truth seekers out there who do discuss the Archon energy, the Dracos, the elite. I'm not going to say any more of those words because they are buzzwords, and I could have my channel taken down if I bring up too much of this narrative that the powers that be look for, and they kind of focus in on these topics, and they tend to just take the YouTube channel down. So I say that because today I have felt a little bit off. The last few days I have been very unfocused. I made a video earlier about how I tend to put things together, build things in a backwards way, upside down, roundabout way. And that all comes hand in hand with just how I'm wired as a human. I've been experiencing a great deal of fatigue, which is due to the ascension symptoms. My light body is coming in. Every person's is, and we all experience these ascension symptoms in a different way. I happen to have been very tired, and I know many people have. I've had a little bit of spine issues with my neck being very tight. But just over the last 2 days, actually since Wednesday, um, I've just been like I'm in a la la land. And I think what's going on. I had to really figure that out because I'm usually a little more determined about my day. And I think it's distractions. I think I am, there are the 3D, the powers that be, the influencers are getting very frustrated, and they are in fear because they are losing control of human beings. We are now in this ascension process. They have tried forever to hold us down. I don't like to be repetitive when I share these thoughts, but um, if you are on the ascension process as I am, with your frequency raising, and you are focused on doing your inner work as a light worker, as a spiritual warrior, if you find that you are avoiding common conversations of the mundane, if you feel yourself pulling away from certain relationships because you no longer need that authentication from another, if you feel that you are losing touch with friends or family members because you are finding it more um, rewarding to just be alone in solitude and peace in your own sanctuary at home, maybe with a few animals here and there, you are raising your frequency to such a state that you are walking a path of ascension, and it's something unavoidable. And if that's the case, then most likely there are energies that are going to attempt to distract you from that path from every angle. And it's very, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's not easy to pinpoint. And so what I've determined is that because I've been because again, the more focused I am, and when I say focused, I mean attentive. I changed my diet. I'm eating much more healthy than I have in the last 5 years. I'm exercising more, even though I'm extremely tired. I'm using positive self-talk. Um, this is what I'm doing to raise my frequency. I am not so much meditating as I used to because I feel like my day is a meditation. When I work with my dragon, we have our discussions. Keeps my energy or my frequency higher, which is in a positive state. I could be a target, let's say, for energies that are lower, negative, that are going to try to distract me from my path. And I think that's what's been happening because, again, I've felt very not interested in much and easily. I just want to sit on the couch. And last night I watched like 4 hours of TV, and it's not a bad thing, but it's also slightly unusual for me, even though I do get plenty of rest. And so this is May, and as I've said in other videos, our sun has changed into a new star. It's no longer a yellow star, it's a white star. There are there are systems in place on our planet that are trying to obscure us from the sunshine, the sunlight, because that is where the energies are coming in, through our sun. And they're telling us that the sun is bad for us, that we need to cover the sun because of the climate change. And that is just that negative influencing, holding on to power, because they know that the human being, because our souls are pushing us into this ascension process. So they are going to do everything they possibly can to frighten you, to keep you inside your home, away from the sun. The sun is not your enemy. Okay. I'm a sun gazer. I gaze at the sun in the mornings when it's not too cloudy, and I've mentioned that in other videos. I have an innate desire, a passion, a need that I must have windows facing east and west. I don't have a choice in the matter. I must have an ability to see the sun rise, even though there's homes across the street. So I don't have it on the horizon, but I do see it rising. And then my window here behind me faces west. So I do see that the sun, the sunlight go down. And I am very aware of that. And I know it's attributed to a past life in the sun temples in Atlantis. I've had many lifetimes as an Atlantean, whether I was a dragon, human, mermaid, multiple different kind of beings, maybe more than one at a time, since I have 12 aspects, including this human aspect. But the energies are gaining in intensity. And so it is really important to find like-minded individuals. And this is why I am making these videos, because I will tell you what, I am different than 99% of the people that I know. In fact, I won't, and I use the word different because I don't want to say I think differently. I see the world differently. Once you see the truth of reality, you awaken to the truth. And you understand where we've come from, who we are, and you understand the control that we've been under, the manipulation, and some of the horrors that have been bestowed upon humanity by the reptilians, by the Dracos. I'll throw that term out. You cannot go backwards. You cannot have, I can, because I must where I work, have conversations. But I am not attracted to going out and just having a conversation about, especially, what meds are you taking? This is what happened with some girlfriends who I had to quietly and gently pull away from, because the conversation was just about, it talked about how the eyes are going bad and the knees are failing, and the meds that are being taken, and I bless them. That is where they're at, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and fine. I'm not there. I have nothing in common with that. I am so drawn to discussions about what is really happening in our world, why systems are falling, why the banking system is in flux, Wall Street, and the can't even think of the term, stocks and bonds, why that's going, it's very erratic. It's because of these new energies that are coming in. We asked for them quietly, the light worker, the spiritual warrior. They're not assisting us, these energies, and I'm being very vague about that because it's never happened before. but they're coming from all parts of the cosmos. And because we're moving into this fourth and fifth dimension density of reality, some of us 6, 7, and 8. Again, that's more information than I really want to dwell on. But if you're finding yourself feeling uncomfortable in your skin, if you're feeling like you're not quite fitting into conversations like you used to, you're questioning systems that you used to rely on 100%, then you are awakening to the truth of the purpose of us being on this planet. Our human bodies, we are avatars. I'm an avatar for my soul, for my ancient master self, they are experiencing life through me. And that has been the plan all along. So we are merging. I don't go out into, when I meditate, I don't send myself out and to look for them and have an experience. I bring them in. I bring them into my heart center. I've discussed this in other videos as well. And as the days go on, I just feel that we're getting so close to this moment where the scales are going to be completely tipped and we are going to be in this free fall of a beautiful, beautiful, grand experience. However, for some, it's going to look very scary because the world is changing with these energies coming in. We're calling for that. But it's the birth of the new earth. Is the birth, and we're experiencing that. So if you're frightened, if you hear, well, first of all, I will say turn the news off because their biggest job is to scare you to death. They are paid to scare you to death, and they are not telling you the real truth of the matter. There are other alternative news medias that you can tune into and use your best judgment. Think for yourself. I've said this quite often. But today it feels like a marker in time. And it's hard to really pinpoint that, but I just felt the need to jump on the video once more because I honestly, I'm not sure about you, but there's no one I know who I can just pick up the phone. Well, there is one person and I love her, a couple people. Okay, two. I can pick up the phone and have these conversations. I just don't have that circle of physical friends and family. And I'm okay with that because I've changed. I am no longer comfortable having these conversations about something as mundane as, in my opinion, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way about mundane. It's just not it doesn't interest me. I would much rather take a walk by myself, sit with my animals, journal, listen to music, um, make a video, write in, add to my fifth novel that I'm writing. If a person calls me to chat, that's great, but I'll tell you what, that doesn't happen very often anymore because I like to push the envelope. I am not one to just take this life lightly. This life I have given myself. I chose it. Everything that's happened to me around me has been, I've created everything. This is my world. And I do not take this lightly. This is for me to experience and to find joy in. And if I feel like there's a little grief going on, that's maybe something I've tapped into because it's changing rapidly and it's never going to go back to where it was in how things operate. Government, religion, banking, um, medicine, and it's all good because it's going in a positive direction. But change is never easy. Human beings don't really embrace change. Not so much. I say I don't really like change. I don't like to see fields plowed down and homes built on them. I don't like to see fields where the geese come back every year in their migration with their flock. And then the next year they come back. Here's my cat, Mr. Bentley. The geese come back and their fields are gone because homes were built, a neighborhood was built in 4 months. It disturbs me. But that's the reality of that 3D world. And so I tend to not really go in those areas. I avoid areas where they're the suburban sprawl and they're building and building so fast that these ecosystems and these habitats of the animals are being destroyed rapidly. I cannot stop that, nor is it my job to stop that, but I can control where I go in my day, how I perceive the world, how I perceive others, how I accept them and their choices that they make. My family members, as I've mentioned before, I love them always, but we do not speak the same language. And it is becoming more apparent as we move further and further into this new world. And I just have to accept that because I won't turn back. I won't go back to the way it was. So there's a cat trying to get into something.